for you, Kings fans, wherever you may be. All the frustration and disappointment of the past is gone. The 45-year drought is over. The Los Angeles Kings are indeed the kings of the National Hockey League. They are the 2012 Stanley Cup champions.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another post-game live here for the 2023-24 season on Dime Dropper. As always, we are live from Los Angeles. Super chats are turned on if you want to drop $1 or a dime. Any donation helps. You can follow us on social media at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Dime Dropper Pod. And, of course, subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we go live or post a video. And if you're a Clipper fan or a supporter of me, please subscribe to the Locked On Clippers YouTube channel because I'm also the host for that 5 days a week talking all things Clippers. And we're going to be talking some Clippers in this one. I didn't even do anything for the Minnesota game because my schedule has been so busy lately. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I could go live more. I apologize. Okay, I'm going to try my best. And you already know in the playoffs, nothing's going to get in the way. We're going to be live every night or at the games every night. By the way, I hope you've checked out some of my recent vlogs. I had a crazy experience where I went to Staples Center 3 nights in a row. Please check that out, especially that first one. It was more like a movie. I combined 2 vlogs in one. Maybe not the best decision, but it still got over 1,000 views. I think you guys should check it out. It was dope. Laker game and Clipper game within a 24-hour span, really a 16-hour span. Then I went to the Milwaukee Clippers game the next day, and that vlog, the timing of it was bad. So I didn't have that many views, but I would check it out. It was really fun. You know, Giannis, come on Dime Dropper, we got to get some love for that. And then the recent episode of Basketball and Figueroa, so check that out. So I'm still producing content. I just haven't been able to go live recently, but want to take our sweet time with this one. Before I get into the Clippers against the Bulls, I got to address the Timberwolves game for just a second on this channel. Kawhi getting injured scared the shit out of me. Back spasms, they said. But he was fine on tonight. He was absolutely fine tonight. So I'd like to say that the coast is clear on that one. It scared me when he left the arena early, but I guess it makes sense given that it was a back thing. You know, you want to be able to lay down, get treatment, not just sit in that position if it's uncomfortable. So I get it, and I'm happy that he looked so great tonight, but that scared me. Now, James Harden and Paul George, like, let's be real. I'm starting to see, like, let's not sugarcoat it. Those two are going to be the reason the Clippers don't win a chip to me. Like, say what you want about anybody else. To me, it really is those two I'm suspect on. Now, Paul George, I obviously like a lot more because he's been a Clipper for longer, and he gave me one of the best sports memories of my life, if not the best. And that's coming from somebody who has seen his team win the Super Bowl, has seen his team win the World Series, albeit it was, asterisk. And then seeing Chelsea win everything. I know that's a little bit harder to feel because I'm not there in London, but I do watch basically every game this season. Ever since I became Locked On Clippers host, though, I've been really not as great of a Chelsea fan, I'd say, just because I've had no time. It's very frustrating. And then I've seen the Kings win the Stanley Cup twice, and I'm telling you that conference finals thing was just as great as those because it meant so much to me, which also just lets you know how big the Clippers are relative to my other teams. The other teams are just the sports teams I love. Clippers are, a part of my identity, part of my soul. It's really deep. So that was special. So Paul George, I'll always have love for him. But that being said, like this season, this playoffs is the tiebreaker for him. And what I mean by that is this. In the bubble, he was dog shit. That whole season, he was injury prone. The next season, he came through and made history, right? With the help of Kawhi in the first round, of course, but he made history. He did what nobody thought he could do, and it was insane slander coming his way all season and all summer after the bubble. He hasn't had a postseason since. So this is it. Mr. Podcast P, Mr. I Want an Extension, Mr. Unserious in the regular season, a lot of games, very inconsistent, terrible decision-making for a star. This is it. You're going to either prove everyone that says that you're a playoff choker right, or you're going to prove all of your defenders right and get at least back to the conference finals again. We'll see. James Harden, I got nothing more to say about him. But the two of them really pissed me off because Kawhi Leonard, I thought the whole point of getting James Harden was that when Kawhi or Paul George were hurt, we're going to be able to do okay. I guess we do okay against bad teams, but against good teams, James Harden and Paul George just haven't looked that great, period. In a lot of games. I'm not saying every time we played a good team, they haven't been good, because we've obviously beaten good teams. But there's a lot of stinkers they put up against good defenses, particularly good drop bigs. And a team with good drop bigs and a good point of attack guys, which, that sounds stupid because that's a good team usually. But guys that kind of make Paul George and James Harden work in the in-between game and make them take tough shots, stay attached to them, get physical with them. Sometimes things hurt. Mainly the whole drop thing and making them play in the in-between game hurts Harden more. I'd say Paul's just his own worst enemy. If you have long physical defenders with size, Paul sometimes he puts up stinkers. So that was a disgrace against Minnesota, the way we collapsed like that. But the great thing about the NBA and the NHL and even the MLB is you're right back in action about a day or two later. So we got this big back-to-back, Chicago and New Orleans. Not the easiest back-to-back, going from Chicago to New Orleans. And the fact of the matter is New Orleans is that second game of the back-to-back. And that's the team that we struggle against maybe more than any in the entire league. So it'll be interesting to see what we do tomorrow. But I like that we finally load manage James Harden. He really – can you believe those words just came out of my mouth? I like that we load manage. They don't even need to continue with the sentence, just the fact that I even said that. But James has looked, slower lately. Like he's been – the guy's been playing heavy minutes at his age. He's not in his peak shape. You know what I'm saying? He's still a little bit on the chunkier side. Definitely he's looked like he's gained a little bit as the season's gone on. No proof of that, by the way, just eye test. But maybe it's just the toll of the season. As we know, the guy lives a hectic lifestyle. He eats, sleeps, and drinks basketball or eats, sleeps, and drinks like a normal person, both of them. So sometimes it takes a toll. Paul George, though, he's got no excuses to me. Like, I expect more. I shouldn't, but you know what? I'll say this. I don't expect more in the regular season, really. But in the playoffs, he better play at his best, or like I'm about to grill the fuck out of him, because I've really been nice to PG for a couple of years because of what he did. And I'm still always going to love him, and he's always going to be one of the best Clippers of all time. That doesn't change that. He might still be a Hall of Famer no matter what happens in the rest of his career. But I got to be honest about who he is as a basketball player. If he does not perform this playoffs, it's not going to be pretty. I'm going to tell you that right now. Now, no James Harden. As I said, I like that we made the decision to sit him. We should be able to beat the Bulls without Kobe White in Chicago without him. But a lot of it was dependent on how Kawhi looked. And Kawhi played, and that made me really happy. And Kawhi and Paul George, these two guys came out red hot, smoking. And the thing about PG is this. He didn't do anything really different. He was just making shots, making threes, making everything, in his bag. There were some possessions where he and Kawhi, I didn't even like the process. It was a lot of them ball pounding, top of the key. But elite shot makers can be elite shot makers some nights. But the Paul George stuff, that's not sustainable. You know what I'm saying? Some of the shots he's making, he went 9 for 10. It was like 11 for 12 and 6 for 7 from 3, but he didn't shoot a free throw. His jumper was just on. And a player like him who's got such a great jumper and is so talented, he can have games like this, but it's not sustainable. That being said, I'm going to give him credit because it was great that he did that. He was getting slandered super hard on Twitter. And to be honest, I didn't go quite hard enough on him in the Locked On episode. And I went off on Harden because I've been really nice to him on Locked On, in my opinion, this season. But Harden has so many more stands than PG for whatever reason. And those stands in the Locked On comment section are very rampant. So they'll get a lot of likes on saying I'm a Harden hater and all that. Look, everybody knows I don't fuck with bro like that, period. And until he does something in the playoffs for us, that is not changing. So I can be honest on my own channel. I don't care. It's nothing personal. I have nothing against him as a man. It's just his basketball is very hard to watch for me, even when he's cooking. He's been a great Clipper this season. He's really been great. He's been arguably our second best player. He is one of the best pick and roll players of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer. I know who he is as a basketball player. I don't have to like that, though. And everybody knows what I like. I like ball movement. I like guys that don't pound the ball too long, don't neglect the in-between game, and can score from all over the floor and move without the rock and are engaged defensively more often than not. These are not characteristics of a James Harden. A lot of them. He's a fantastic guy with the ball in his hands, scorer and passer. He's one of the best combos of scoring and passing we've ever seen. That's it. Paul George was hitting everything. It was awesome to watch. Kawhi Leonard the same. There was a lot of possessions, that they were pressing up on him, on these guys, and they were getting to their spots still. There was just, as I said, a little too much ball pounding for me, but it's okay tonight. And Vucevic was in that high drop like all night. So we were still getting some pull-ups, but a lot of times it would just kind of revert to Vucevic showing for a second, then retreating, and then PG and Kawhi kind of working. But then there were some times where he's cheating up, and it's kind of like putting Zoo in those 4-on-3 situations in the short roll. And I thought he did a pretty good job out of it in this game, and Tice as well. Tice had 3 assists in just 14 minutes. Zoo had 2 assists. But Zoo was just okay to me. He played 32 minutes, had 6 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 dimes. 2 turnovers on 2 for 3 shooting and 2 for 2 from the line. And his defense was pretty solid. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Zoo. Thought he was on the quieter side. Of course, he doesn't really have his pick and roll partner in Harden. But for the most part, the Bulls, they were, trying to wall off Zoo going to the rim in that roll situation and giving up the threes. And we shot a lot of threes and a lot of open ones. And we shot 40 of them to be exact and made 20, 50% from 3. And I can't remember the last time we had a game where we shot 50% from 3. If one of my mods can find that for me, that'd be very appreciated. But 50% from 3, and that's a lot of because of the Bulls scheme. You're pulling Vucevic out high to take away Paul George's pull-up. And again, I think they would have still played the same defense with Harden, because I think from my memory, that's what they did in the last game we played them that I was at the other day. I missed the first quarter of that game because of the ticketing situation. You can check that out in the vlog. So, I don't get to see the starting scheme, but from what it looked like, Vucevic was in that high drop. And James Harden, for the most part, made some good pocket passes, and you put these guys in that 4-on-3 situation, but the guys are knocking down threes tonight, except for Terrence, who just, he played hard, God bless his soul, but he wasn't really hitting. And that's okay. Again, I have no problem with the only thing you're doing wrong is missing shots and you're taking good ones. Like, that's not even doing something wrong. That's just, it's not falling, I guess it is. You're supposed to make shots, but that's the thing I get least mad at, whether I'm coaching or watching a game. It's like, or a teammate. If you're taking good shots and missing, it is what it is. Now, of course, if it gets to the point where you're missing everything and it's hurting the team, then we can have a conversation. But I think missing shots, if you're taking good ones, is the most overrated thing to get mad at somebody about for real. And that's why Terrence Mann, it's like I don't get mad at him too much, even though he's my favorite player on the team and I may have some bias towards him. He doesn't do wrong things, really. When he's being hesitant, though, I don't like it. And he wasn't. He shot 4 for 13, 2 for 7 from 3, 2 for 2 from the line. He still ended up in double figures, 12 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, and a steal, and no turnovers, plus 10. I mean, in 31 minutes, I'll take that. And defensively, he's always going to give you 100%. And without Kobe White, it was a little easier to guard the Bulls tonight. And I thought one thing that was interesting was, obviously Zoo's going to be in drop. Vucevic counters by being in pick and pop. That's one thing about Vooch. He's not shooting well from 3 this year, but that 18-footer, that 10-footer, that little push shot, Vucevic can make that no problem. What the Clippers were doing was we weren't conceding that pick and pop jumper. We were rotating, and it would basically end up with us all scrambling and Zubac's guarding forwards and guards on the scramble. And for the most part, I think we did a decent job rotating, but it did put Zoo in some problematic situations. But the scheme worked. We won by 15 points, 126-111, and you can't get mad at it. Vucevic, let's see what he ended with. 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists on 8 for 14 shooting and 2 for 4 from 3. So here's the thing. He shot very efficiently, but we took away some shots that could have been wide open for him coming off screens, and that was partially because of the scheme. So I think that was decent from the coaching staff. I was going to say one more thing, scheme-wise, besides the basic that we switch 2 through 4. Today was 2 through 4. Bones, we're very hesitant to switch Bones onto good offensive players, which is not a bad thing. So he usually just shows and recovers. And he did a pretty good job of that in this one, and he actually ended up getting a career high in steals in this game, Bones Highland, with 4. So as I've said many times, we look at the preseason, we look at before the Harden trade, Bones is really looking like he is taking pride in trying to be a serviceable defender, a passable defender. And I said it last year from the second we got him, he has good hands and long arms that can make him at least a pretty decent off-ball defender. The rest, he's skinny. He's not the best laterally. But if you know where to be and know the scheme, you can be decent. So in the beginning of the game, Clippers actually started down 5-0, but then we went on a 16-4 run, and it was led by Paul George, who was 6 for 6, I remember, at one point of the first quarter. And I thought PG's defense was really good. Very active, especially in the first quarter. Very active hands and moving his feet, getting physical. He had a steal and a block, and they were on back-to-back possessions. I thought Paul, just from top to bottom effort, on both ends of the floor, was just very good. It was almost like he saw all the slander that everybody was throwing his way after the Minnesota game, and he just came back with a vengeance. But that being said, the Bulls without Kobe White and Zach LaVine, doesn't move the needle for me, but I'm never going to be mad at seeing Paul George play well and hopefully get some confidence going into the game against New Orleans, because they always give us a rough game. Kawhi was also 4 for 4 to start the game, so it was funny. Our best players, our 2-on-3 duo, were hitting it. And, without James Harden, without Russell Westbrook, it's kind of like the beginning of 2-on-3. A lot of them creating, a lot of them in pick and roll, a lot of getting them the ball and the mid-post and stuff like that. And honestly, we didn't get that much mid-post P in this game, surprisingly. We were just hitting a shot from the outside, but we did get a little bit of mid-post Kawhi. And at one point, they started doubling both Kawhi and Paul George, and I think we did a better job moving the ball out of the double in this one. And Bones Highland, this is where I got to start giving him credit. It started with, there was a lineup, I think, of Norm, Bones, Brandon Boston, and I believe Tyson Amir. And I think they did a really solid job. We went on an 8-0 run in the second quarter, and Bones, he had a moment of some really great process where he was active on the defensive end, but also creating good shots in the pick and roll, moving the ball fast. And I think one thing I loved about Bones in this game, he really understood his assignment. And that was, we don't need you to do what James Harden does. We want you to have some occasional pick and roll reps, but for the most part, run things through Kawhi and Paul George, which is kind of what our 2021 season was. But Reggie Jackson obviously ended up biting off more than he could chew at times. And then we needed him to do what he did, and then he did. But Bones Highland, I've been saying it since he got here. We've seen it. He's an underrated passer. The stands that just got here off their U-Haul trucks or their vans, they have no idea because they don't give a damn about anybody but their favorite player, and they haven't seen Bones before that. But he is an underrated passer, and you see it tonight with 11 assists, his career high, a double-double for Mr. Busy, 17 and 11 to go along with 5 rebounds and 4 steals on an incredibly efficient 6 for 9 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, 1 for 2 from the line, but 66% from the field in 32 minutes and only 1 turnover, 11-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. My only criticism of him was there was a stretch where we went a little cold in that second quarter, and one of my good friends, he was my first ever guest on Dime Dropper, Will Johnson, son of UCLA national champion in '95, Chris Johnson, and the great Marcus Johnson of the Milwaukee Bucks and UCLA, grandson of. He was on that show, first episode of Dime Dropper featuring. That means somebody that's involved either in the NCAA, involved in basketball or sports in some way, mainly NCAA or NBA or professional in that way. So he came on, gave some great insight, and he was talking about Bones. The one thing I have noticed is he doesn't use his angles very well coming off screens at times. A lot of times the defender, point of attack guy, is still attached to him coming off screens. I don't know if it's because his footwork is off or he takes too wide of an angle coming off screens, but he could create more separation. I mean, I'm surprised James Harden, I wonder if they're working on that together, because that's one thing James Harden does exceptionally well is he's amazing with pick and roll angles. He totally takes the defender out of the picture with how tightly he comes off screens, and his timing is very good. So I would assume that's something they've been working on, but that's my only criticism. Other than that, he was awesome. I thought he was moving the ball well, getting everybody involved, letting the three fly and knocking it down. He was pretty engaged in the defensive end. After the first quarter, we were up 37-26. Second quarter broke even 27-27. And it's funny because the third quarter was almost the exact same, 28-27. We won it. But Norm, I mean, immediately he comes into the game, starts spraying, coming off screens, coming off curls. And there were some fantastic possessions of ball movement. And yes, not coincidence that without Westbrook and Harden, particularly Harden, the ball's moving better. But am I saying we're a better team without him? No. But the ball was moving better. It's just not even deniable. Like, it's very obvious. It's very obvious. And that's because you don't have a pick and roll guy like Harden. But I love the way the ball was zipping at times. We had this one beautiful possession that ended up resulting in an Amir Coffey left corner three. It was a beaut. And I thought Amir was good as well in this one, playing good D. He didn't knock down. He shot less than 50% from the field, 3 for 8, but he shot 50% from 3, 3 for 6. So 9.3 boards. He was minus 11, though. But I thought he was decent. I thought he was pretty good. Let me know what you thought of Amir in the comments. I thought he was better than some of the most recent games. And then Brandon Boston, he only played the first half, but I liked his impact. 5 points on 2 for 3 shooting, had a nice take to the basket. Had a rebound. I remember him having a steal, but I guess not. I thought he was good, very active defensively. Again, how did he not get a steal? Did he get credited to him? I vividly remember him getting a steal. Anyway, that was basically our rotation. And then Daniel Tice, who I thought was on the quieter side. Drummond was kind of getting the better of him in the minutes that they shared. Drummond had 15 points and 7 boards. They were about to close with him on 7 for 8 shooting. Tice had 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists on 2 for 4 shooting. At least he had no turnovers. We only had 9 turnovers. He'll take that any day of the week. 10, actually. 34-31 in favor of us in the fourth quarter, and we ended up winning it 126-111. As far as the more details of the game, we went 2-3 for a stretch in the second quarter. I didn't love it. Amir had 2 threes in the second. And Paul and Kawhi just looked good throughout the game. Like, they're just making tough shots. Kawhi even hit a sidestep to his right. Like that James Harden move, but to his right. But, James Harden does it to his right all the time. That's one of the moves that he's kind of ushered in. But that definitely would have been a travel in the 90s and prior, which people don't understand. They want to just keep saying we done with the 90s and talk about the lack of skill players had, but they don't know the restrictions. They don't know that some of these moves just weren't things. They weren't. Someone bust out in the game, they're getting laughed at. So let's see. So I like Brandon. In the third quarter, 2 and 3 was still – they were just hooping the whole game. I don't even know what to say. Like, they were awesome. Knocking down their threes, making tough shots, Bones zipping the ball. Some good short roll stuff from Terrence Mann, Zubats. The Bulls actually kind of started coming back, though. They shot pretty well from 3, and they're not a good three-point shooting team. They shot 48% from the field and 46% from 3. Torrey Craig continues to mess with the Clippers like he did in the Phoenix series. 4 for 7 from deep. DeRozan was 2 for 5 from 3, but it was definitely a strategy of ours to leave him open and allow the ball to be swung to him when he was standing behind the three-point line. And he only shot 5 of them, and he made 2. So some of them were pull-ups, though, which were weird, and he missed them. 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists for DeMar. 6 for 16 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3. Ayo Dosunmu was 2 for 11 and 1 for 5 from 3. And Caruso, he was 0 for 5 from 2, but he was 5 for 8 from 3. Weird. Javon Carter also played really well. 12 points off the bench on 5 for 7 shooting and 2 for 3 from deep. So they shot well from 3, 45%, but the Clippers shot even better. Clippers shot 71% from the line. Norm missed the free throw. Brandon missed the free throw. Bones missed the free throw. No free throw attempts for PG and only 2 for Kawhi. Again, it's fine when the jumper's falling, but you want to see them get to the line more. But yeah, I guess let's read the lines because that's basically it. We answered back with PG getting hot in the fourth again after the Bulls started making threes. And PG started getting doubled after he made the 3 to make it 108-96. But we ended up closing the deal, no problem. Anyone else for the Bulls interesting? Not really. Let's talk Clippers besides the ones I've already said. Norman Powell had 18 points off the bench. Mr. Reliable. 60% from the field, 6 for 10. 50 from 3, 3 for 6. 75% from the line, 3 for 4. I said Brandon Boston, Amir Coffey, Daniel Tice. Mason Plumlee only got garbage minutes in this one. Terrence said he had 12 points. Bones, he had 17 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 steals. And then, the 2-1-3. Kawhi Leonard, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 3 turnovers, though. 12 for 17 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3. So good to see Kawhi shooting well from 3 again. And as I said, 1 for 2 from the foul line. I mean, just tough shot making all game long, knocking down his open shots. Just amazing to see him look like he was fine. He said he was, and he explained the injury. He said, shout out to beat writer Lon Murray for getting the answer here, that as detailed as it was. He hit him in the back. He said he got hit in the back. So it made it sound like a bruise that he suffered against Chicago, he said, at home, the game I went to. He gave it a go last game. He said he's just been taking medicine, got some treatment when he went home. So good to hear. Good to hear him offer some clarity because we know that's a big thing. People not knowing what kind of injuries Kawhi has, how severe it is, and all that. So Paul George, 28 points for him. He was my player of the game. And just like the other game against Chicago, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. So, or should I say 7 assists, high assist numbers. He had 9 against them when I went. Yeah, 28, 5, and 7 with a steal and a block on 11 for 12 shooting and 6 for 7 from 3. I mean, oh my God. So here's my thing, right? Let's see what we do tomorrow as far as the Clippers. Ty Lue said something really interesting after the game, though. He was saying that the point of getting James was to take the ball out of Paul George's hands and not have him, tire out throughout the season. And now, last 20 games, we give the ball to Paul and ramp up his pick and roll reps. Here's the thing about PG. It's always something with him. You think he wants the ball more, and then he's like, oh, I want the ball less. It's always a tough balance to find with this guy, to find the great equilibrium, the perfect blend to get the most out of him. I think definitely more on ball than what he's been in the last couple months since we got Harden, because Harden's pick and roll has not looked as good lately. But if that was the plan all along, let's see how this goes. It's all a matter of if Paul George can take care of the ball in those pick and roll situations. That's what it comes down to. Because if he doesn't, it's too problematic. But we'll see how it goes. When they blitz him, for the most part, he's okay. In drop coverage, though, he ball pounds like crazy and makes some ridiculous cross-court passes. But we'll see. Anyway, tomorrow we're going to be going live again, so we'll talk about it then. Now for the Lakers. Got to talk about the way they played against the Kings. This was a big game. Big game. And the game before that was against Minnesota. I talked about that on Basketball and Figueroa. But they got swept by the Sacramento Kings this season. And that's pretty interesting. And I think a big reason is because they play at a pace that hurts the Lakers. Now, you might be wondering, the Lakers are actually one of the highest paced teams in the league, dickhead. Yeah, but you know what they're not good at? A lot of that's because they play quickly offensively. And I think they've looked to push off misses more the last couple of months. But here's the thing about them. They're not good defensively in transition to me at all. A lot of fast teams run them off the court, and then it takes them a couple of quarters to start playing. And Sacramento does a good job of that. But the main thing, this whole standout storyline with Sacramento is that Anthony Davis is 0-10 against Sabonis. I'd never heard about this till the last game, the one I missed recently, Lakers-Kings. And we only talked about it on Basketball and Figueroa. I still didn't watch it. Edwin talked about it, really. But there was a whole thing about it. And I was like, oh, my God. Let's see the next time if AD plays with any more pride. Not really. The Lakers lost this game because the players that have been playing the best the last couple of weeks, months to be honest, D'Lo, LeBron, and AD. Not to say that Reeves hasn't been good, because he's ended up having a really solid season overall. At the beginning, I was like, he hasn't improved at all. He's ball pounding too much. But since all 4 of them started together again, I've really liked the way Reeves is playing. Maybe it's because he's surrounded by more shooting and doesn't have to ball pound as much. But I just like the way he's played a little bit smarter to me. And I think his defense the last week or two has really stepped up. Ever since that game he guarded SGA so well, he's really been stepping it up. But D'Lo, LeBron, and AD were horrific in this game. And you knew a D'Lo stinker was coming because he's been so good lately. 6 points, 6 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 for 9 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. The Lakers broke even in the first and were only down 4 at half. But in the third quarter, they only scored 17 points. And so, it's funny, the Lakers, they won the fourth by 2, but it's really that third quarter that made the difference, and they lost 120-107. The Lakers are 12-20 on the road, by the way. And Spencer Dinwiddie, he has brought nothing to the table so far. I'm not going to lie. He had that block in the game I went to, and I got that on video, but 0 points, 0 for 2, like in 20 minutes. He hasn't offered anything. He just ball pounds and hunts shots or then doesn't at all. And I like Spencer. You know, he was in the same clinics I used to go to back as a kid, and he was a really nice guy. Every time I talked to him, he's went to Taft. He's from out here. He was also my camp counselor. One of my camp counselors at a basketball camp one summer with his high school coach. So I knew Spencer Dinwiddie when he was at Taft. I never thought he was going to make the NBA, but he really ascended and he became a good NBA player. But I don't know how he's helping this Laker team. Taurean Prince played 13 minutes. He made both of his shots. One of them was a 3, 7 points, 2 steals, but he was a minus 13. He was whatever. Jackson Hayes played 7 minutes, had 4 points on 1-for-1 shooting. Then Max Christie played 10 minutes, had 2 points on 1-for-2 shooting. And I mean, there's no denying that. First of all, the Cam Reddish situation is weird. Like, he comes back, he misses games. He's had a groin injury, he's had different injuries, and he's been very injury prone throughout his entire career, to be honest. This is, I believe, the second most games he's played since his rookie year. So not having him, and he's been one of the better point of attack guys for them this season, which is not saying too much, by the way, but he's been pretty good. And then you don't have Vando, who's probably your second best defender after Anthony Davis. And the absence of Vando, who's missed basically half the season, majority of it, has really hurt this Laker team. Because when he came to the team last season, he added an element of athleticism that when you saw him, LeBron, and AD defensively, like the amount of ground that's covered on that back line is impressive. And when LeBron's engaged, like he was defensively in the playoffs, that's a really solid defense, even if D'Lo and Austin Reeves aren't the best at point of attack. So that's really hurt them. But as far as this game, Anthony Davis and LeBron and D'Lo were awful. I already talked about D'Lo. Like, eventual stinker was coming. LeBron played 40 minutes, and his stats look good because in the fourth quarter he played okay to try to make that fake comeback. I'm not going to say he was stat padding because I think he was giving it a shot. But 18 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, 5 turnovers. He was playing no defense on Harrison Barnes. I couldn't believe after he had made 3 threes in a row, he was still potentially thinking about going under the screen. I was like, bro, what? Like, this is not LeBron when he's engaged. And again, I have not watched any player more than LeBron James. He is the player that I've watched the most in my life. He was my first favorite player. I know exactly from his body language when he's giving a fuck on defense. It's very evident. I don't need anyone to tell me. I don't need any Bron's sexual lover to tell me. I don't need any Laker fan to tell me. I know LeBron James better than any player I've ever watched. I know exactly when he's trying on defense. He did not give a fuck. And that's fine because he's 40. You know, he's 39 years old. But let's be honest about who he is right now. That's what I don't like. The conversations around him are very disingenuous because he has had a better defensive year to me than last year, than the year before even. I think he's about the same as last year. Post Westbrook trade, he turned up defensively a lot more. 2022, dog shit. He's been okay. Like he has 2 good defensive games to me, and then he has 1 terrible one. And that 2 good is being a little generous. Solid. Good enough for his age. Good enough for what he needs to do. But like, let's be honest about it sometimes. It's not good enough. And you got to think about after this season, let's see how the playoffs go, but you really got to think about the regular season and not LeBron and Anthony Davis, those 2, I don't think they can get you a good seed without another star anymore, no matter how good your supporting cast is. And it's mainly LeBron. And it's nothing against, like, the fact that we're even relying on him like this says a lot about how good he is. You know, he's still, to me, top 15 player in the NBA when you count regular season and playoffs. When you count playoffs alone, he's top 10. Maybe even top 5. Seriously. I might put him in the top 5. We're just talking playoffs because he's just so experienced. And he's freaking LeBron. And he can turn up in a couple of games. But over the course of a series, I don't think he can play hard defense and then close for you and still play great throughout the game. I just don't believe it. I don't think the foot was the thing last year. I think he's just old. And when he's playing defense throughout a game, it's just hard. He's still human to a degree. Now, Anthony Davis, let's get into it, right? Because that's the whole point of this video, of this part of the video. I don't know what it is. He has either it's a mental block or he gets owned by Sabonis. I couldn't believe some of the offensive rebounds Sabonis was getting in the fourth over him. It was like, I was like, dude, what is happening here? And every time the Kings got an offensive rebound, it felt like they made a 3. They killed it. The Lakers had so many chances. Reeves missed a layup. LeBron had an offensive foul and just turned the ball over. Like, they had chances to kind of make a little push in the fourth, but Sabonis, he dominated again. Anthony Davis had 22 and 10 rebounds, of course, 3 assists, 1 steal and a block, but he was 7 for 18 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the line. And Austin Reeves, by the way, had 28 points on 10 for 17 shooting and 7 for 12 from 3. And Rui Hachimura had 20 points on 9 for 11 shooting and 2 for 3 from deep. So those two were great. But, I mean, the Kings got 14 plus from all their starters. Keon Ellis had 14 points and 3 steals on 5 for 8 shooting and 3 for 5 from 3. De'Aaron Fox had 21, 4, and 7. That's 4 rebounds and 7 assists on 9 for 20 shooting. Keegan Murray had 19 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and played good defense. And I've really noticed his improvement defensively this year every time I watch the Kings. 7 for 13 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3. And then Harrison Barnes was just unconscious. 23 points on 8 for 15 shooting and 7 for 11 from 3. The Kings shot 52% from the field and 46% from 3, 19 for 41. Only shot 12 free throw attempts and made 9 of them. The Lakers shot 10 more free throws, but 10 less shots. And they shot 44% from 3. So not bad, but Kings shot lights out. Sabonis, 17 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists, triple-double, 2 steals and a block on 6 for 10 shooting and 5 for 6 from 3. Let me say this. I've talked about Anthony Davis and me thinking he's the best defender in the NBA, but he has a real weakness, and that is the fact that physical bigs that want to post up and score, like Nurkic, Jokic, Sabonis. You could even throw Valanciunas in there, but I don't remember. Honestly, Valanciunas too, but I think he holds his own against Valanciunas. When they just go right through his chest, he gets bullied. And the funny part is AD doesn't weigh nothing. I don't know what it is, but they go into his legs and he gets knocked off balance. And that's his defensive weakness. So Anthony Davis, there's a reason why he doesn't want to play the 5, and that's it. Now, the thing is, it just doesn't get exploited much in this era because you don't have many bully ball bigs. But Sabonis is, and Jokic is, and what's his name is? Guys like Valanciunas and Nurkic. You don't play these guys that much. So when AD has to just worry about playing pick and roll D, which is what teams most of the time are doing these days as opposed to posting up, AD blows up pick and rolls because he can guard 2 at once and drop. So that's it, right? Is AD really the best defender in the NBA? I'm going to ask that question again because the thing is Gobert, right, who's the other candidate for me. He might be a better rim protector than AD. Might even be a better drop defender, but he's nowhere near as good mobile, getting out on the perimeter and guarding other players one-on-one. Now, I would say he's a better post defender one-on-one, but AD to me is more mobile, more versatile defensively. He can switch 1 through 5 for real more than other guys. You know, the fact that he was getting out of the perimeter and staying in front of Steph Curry to a degree last playoffs was amazing. So people have been saying Bam. The thing about Bam is I just don't think he's nearly as good of a rim protector as those guys. And I just don't think he can, like, I know he did a good job defensively on Jokic the other night, but like it's the regular season and they lost. Like, I'm not going all the way with that. Bam's top 5 in the league, but I don't know if he's the best. Maybe in the playoffs he'll change my mind. But Herb Jones, these other perimeter guys, I think in other eras where it was more about one-on-one, man-to-man defense, I think those guys would be the best defenders. But right now, it's about guys that can blow up your pick and rolls to me. And Draymond Green, in my opinion, was the best defender of his time. He's up there still, but I don't know if he's as good as – I don't think he's as good as AD and Gobert. So let me know in the comments about that. Who's the best defender in the league? Wembanyama is slowly climbing up, by the way, and Chet Holmgren as well. Last thing I want to talk about. So, by the way, with Anthony Davis and Sabonis, he's got to take more pride. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. He's got to take more pride. They're not getting another center this year, and Jackson Hayes isn't good enough to play many minutes there. He needs to be more physical and take more pride. Straight up. I don't know if the Lakers aren't going to play the Kings in the playoffs, so it's kind of moot. But let's talk the last thing about some college, right? Okay, all of my teams lost. UMass lost to VCU. And we had a pretty good record this year. Not that I watched one game, but we did. That's disappointing. And then UCLA. I did not watch much UCLA basketball this year. Now, remember, my dad went to UCLA and my sister went, both of them for 4 years. And UCLA was always closer to me as a West Side guy growing up. Now, I'm still USC, pro USC over UCLA, and I'll tell you why. But I still love UCLA as a school. My dad went there. My sister went there. I went to her graduation. It's always been close to me. I went to camps there. I love it. I never rooted for them in football, but in any other sport, in basketball, I love them. I still wouldn't root for them over UMass or Pepperdine or USC, but I still root for them and follow them and wish them the best. And I know everyone gives me shit for liking UCLA and USC. Give my parents, my dad and my sister shit for going to both. At the end of the day, I support my family. So I pick a side, though. When it comes down to it. I'm a USC all the way. But listen, I always rep I rep them both. Bruins, what's it, 8 clap, 4's up. I didn't watch them much this season. But it was a team full of freshmen. And, Dylan Andrews had a great breakout season. He showed some flashes last year from my memory, but he had a really great season this time around. Went to Windward. And they lost to Oregon in the Pac-12 tournament today. So their season's over. No postseason play this season for them after last year with Jaime Jaquez getting to I believe it was the Elite Eight, right? And we lost to Gonzaga. Was that Julian Strother's buzzer beater? I believe so. Mods, check that out for me if that was Julian Strother's buzzer beater. But USC, I'm going to talk about them as well. What a disappointing season, but really not. I don't know why anybody thought we were going to be good. I really don't know why anybody thought we were going to be good. Oh, so the reason why I like USC more is because my dad, when he went back to school, he went for 2 years and I was alive, right? And it was when I was first getting into sports, and Reggie Bush was at USC with Matt Leinart. And let me tell you something. I didn't know what a first down was, but Reggie Bush flying into the end zone and dusting dudes was like the highlight of my weekend. Like, he was my hero, that number 5. So I went to my dad's graduation. I experienced real heartbreak with them when they lost to Texas in that championship game at the Rose Bowl. You can't say the name Vince Young around me. Like, don't even say it. I really don't like them. Texas. To this day, I have something against the Texas Longhorns. So I love Reggie Bush. I love USC. By the way, if you did not check out my vlog when Bronny's first game, please check that out. It's on the channel. It's gold content. I don't know how it doesn't have 1,000 views. Insane you guys didn't check that out. But let me just say this. The team was wildly overrated. We had no shooting. We had very few guys that could create their own shot. First of all, I like Isaiah Collier. His USC career is done. It was a pleasure to watch him live. He started out as one of the best, highest prospects in the nation. He's one of the highest prospects in the nation, one of the top draft picks. I was saying in the vlog, he has a chance to be number 1. Bruh, his stock kept on dropping because he can't make free throws consistently and he can't shoot the ball. He can get to the paint whenever he wants, but he's like Scoot Henderson and he maybe not even as good. So I love Isaiah Collier and I wish him the best going forward, but he's got to work on that jump shot. Once he gets a jump shot, he can be insane. But some guys just never get it. I think he can get it, though. I think that's the easiest skill to get better at to me is shooting the ball. But, I was always a decent shooter. But I was in the NBA. Isaiah Collier is definitely a better shooter than me. I think he can get better. And let's think. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, like Boogie Ellis is pretty decent, but he's a 5-year college player. He's done. He and Isaiah Collier are only consistent shot creators, and then a little bit of Kobe Johnson. Vincent was whatever, the big fella. He's not great. And then Bronny, I love Bronny's defense, and he can shoot the ball and he has a high basketball IQ, but he's got no wiggle at the college level to get by guys and really create shit off the bounce at all. So he's going to have to work on his bag straight up. Right now he's an NBA athlete probably, but he's not an NBA basketball player, talent skill-wise yet. He needs another year or 2 or more in college. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with teams trying to potentially draft him to see if LeBron will come. We'll see how that goes. But for me as a USC fan, I like Bronny, and I'm rooting for him, and I want him to stay for another year. And I think LeBron, if he really – it depends, man. Does he want his son to come into the NBA and then immediately, he's going to get sent to the G League team? What's going to happen? When LeBron retires, he's going to be out of the league, right? So what we need LeBron – if LeBron wants his son – to long-term be better. I think he needs to let him stay and develop and see if he's an NBA player by playing at the collegiate level longer. Learn more about basketball. Guys going one and done, like it's not a lot of the one and dones, as talented as they are, they have terribly low basketball IQs relative to other guys. And I've really been realizing after I've been coaching youth, older kids, freshmen in high school, sophomores in high school, like one and done is nothing. 1 year of college after high school, after you're still living at your parents' house and like doing all these things you would do as a kid. 1 year, you're playing NBA basketball at the highest level and you have like people judging you all over the world. Like it's a lot. Playing in college, like that's important to me. So, yeah, I think I want Bronny to continue to get better, and playing more college basketball is going to help that. So that's my take on that. Rodman's kid is very average. That team is not good. And Andy Enfield, I think he's done a great job as USC coach. He's had some awesome teams, but it might be time to move on and get a little bit more creativity offensively. But I really thank Andy for everything he's done. I think he's been the coach of USC now for 11 years. Might be longer. Someone check me on that. But anyway, and then my last bit of business, Pepperdine. We lost and had a better season than the last 2 years, but injuries always really plagued us with this last couple of years of Pepperdine. I've been working for them now for 2 years on and off, but 3 years since my boy Asher's been involved with them. I think maybe more. Asher's been on the podcast a couple of times, but it may just be 2 years. I could be tripping, though. No, it's been 3. It's been 3 that he's been PA announcing for them, right? So in that era, I call it the Houston Millette era because he was kind of the face to me, the guy that was there for all 3 years. You had guys like Max Lewis that were there last year. Last year was like the Max year. Now he's on the Lakers and the G League going in and out with it. Is he on a two-way or is he on the team? Someone check that for me as well. Max Lewis is on a two-way contract if he's on the team. But, it's an end of an era. They won more games in the last 2 years, but they really struggled with, their big man play and mainly keeping Bilal Coulibaly, who was a USC transfer, healthy. And it was just unfortunate. We got out-muscled and bullied by a lot of older teams. So, okay, so thank you. Max Lewis is on a two-way contract. But, yeah, we got bullied by a lot of experienced teams. But then we lost Mike Mitchell Jr., who's over at Minnesota now. That really hurt us this year. I like Ethan Anderson, but I think Mike Mitchell was better. Such a great three-point shooter. He really scored the ball and passed the ball. But we did better this season, I have to say. Houston getting injured at the end was really unfortunate. That's one of my favorite waves of all time. Shout out to him. And it's unfortunate. And Javon Porter, Michael Porter's brother, starting out the year with an injury was really tough, but he consistently looks like I think he's going to keep improving. And it was rough, at the end. And I think this era, it could have been a lot bit better. It really could have. And I think now that we got, rid of Coach Lorenzo Romar, who, remember, of course, coached the Washington Huskies with Isaiah Thomas and Quincy Pondexter, and was the assistant coach for the UCLA teams with Ed O'Bannon, 95 team I was mentioning with Chris Johnson, Ed O'Bannon, Charles O'Bannon, Tyus Edney that won the championship in 95. And just a first-class guy. I finally got to meet Coach Romar at the end, and he's just such a good dude. And he seems like all the players really love him. But I think it was probably time to go in a different direction. And we got a new athletic director, went in a different direction. And all the players left. Javon Porter's transferring. And this year we had Michael Ajayi, who was a transfer from a JUCO and was just our best player, was amazing, averaged nearly a double-double. At one point was leading the NCAA in double-doubles in Division I. And he's transferring as well. Nigerian background. I think he actually has a good chance of going to the NBA. So I really hope Michael Ajayi, and he shot well from 3 this year. Like, I'm excited to see what all these guys do, but we're going to miss them all at Pepperdine, seeing everyone go. Jalen Petrie, Javon Porter, Houston. It's going to be sad, man. Houston was a face of Pepperdine. He bled the blue and orange, and hopefully we'll get him on the show one day. He always, hinted at that for me, and he ended up starting his own podcast. So hopefully we'll get Houston on the show, even though he's leaving Pepperdine. But it's very unfortunate. And we're going to see what we've got next year. But my college teams didn't do very well. Who's my horse now? Who is my horse? Do I have anyone to root for? Cal State Northridge? Are we going to make the tournament? I went there for 1 year. It doesn't seem like we've got anybody. I got nothing. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. Now to the live subscribers waiting patiently in the chat. Super chats are turned on if you want to drop $1 or a dime. Peace. All right. Don't comment for a sec. Mods, let them know.